The piece I really want to discuss right now or talk about is a sculpture called Cactus Flower. It was made in 1977. It was made in Splendora. Charmaine and I lived in a one-room house, and it was made in the yard. Everything was made in the yard. It was the yard, where out in the yard in the woods was the studio. So it came about just because of my interest and ability to split wood. I grew up making firewood and fence posts and corral things, and it's just something that I knew how to do. Also, the welding in the frame and the skeleton part of that sculpture. I welded all of that with a little stick rod welder, a little, I think it was a Miller. They're called cracker boxes. They're the smallest little welders. All the farmers had them because you could repair stuff with them. But that was my tools, the very basic kind of stuff. But Cactus Flower, man, I loved it. I loved making it. It went over to New Orleans. It showed on the steps of the New Orleans Museum. It had an incredible history. It went into Houston and was shown by an art dealer named Max Hutchinson, who came from New York to Houston. He opened a gallery, and he put it right out in front. So the whole Houston art world got to see it. I was really happy about it. Ultimately, this is the part now where it starts to get really interesting with that piece. Ultimately, it went to a farm over in New Waverly, Texas. And the farm was owned by William Holden, Billy Holden. Billy Holden was somebody that I'd gone to 8th grade with. I'd gone to school with. We were friends from childhood. And he actually bought the piece and put it out in his yard in front of this house that he had built. That house was incredible. It was a stucco house, the handmade he built. Well, Billy had a bad habit, and that is he grew marijuana. And in 1978 and 79 in Texas, growing marijuana was not necessarily a smart thing to do. But he did. So one day, he got busted. In come, the sheriff, the constable, all the local laws, the drug enforcement, plus they had tipped off all of the news channels. So there was a helicopter for one of the news channels that came zooming in using my sculpture as the focal point, that it was moving in and spiraling around. So everybody in half of Texas saw that sculpture on the evening news in what was billed at that time to be one of the largest drug busts in Walker County. It was New Waverly's up close to Huntsville. Oh my goodness. Well, as it turns out, for some reason that I have no clue why, all charges were dropped against Billy. So he didn't go to jail or go to prison or anything like that, but it made for an incredible splash in the community. Okay, now cut for 25 years later, 30 years later, the wood rotted off. The wood rotted. The steel core did not. The wood just simply rotted off, and the core just quite literally just melded into the earth, so to speak, and pine trees grew through it. So it was now embedded into a young pine forest. Well, Billy died. He went on to wherever he goes when he dies, and Billy had 2 kids that were unbelievable. They were incredible children. His daughter, and it's actually important to say this at this point, because his daughter entered an essay contest that the Japanese government sponsored. And I don't remember the thematic nature of the essay that she wrote, but she started off her essay by saying, "My daddy hates Japs." Well, boy, you would think that would be throwing a hand grenade into the mix. But then she went on to say, "But I don't." And she then told all of the reasons why she didn't hate. And she won. It was a national contest, and Billy Holden's daughter won the contest and actually got to, I swear I don't remember exactly which one. It was like Harvard or Yale or somewhere. She got a full scholarship thanks to the Japanese government. That was the reward for if you won first prize in that contest, you got a college scholarship. And she did. And she went on to be a set designer in, I think, to start off in Boston, and then she moved to Los Angeles, and now she's big in the set design world. This little kid from New Waverly, Texas, that grew up under what you would call eccentric circumstances. And certainly her daddy was eccentric. But now he died. It belongs to the children. I asked if I could get the piece back. She had actually already sold the land. The land had been sold. So now the land belonged to someone else, but my sculpture was embedded with trees growing through it on the property, a carcass. It was a dead sculpture. But I got it. I got permission to get it back. She gave me access to the place. We got it back. I ultimately had it sandblasted, cleaned, and painted. And I split new wood from Splendora, Texas, which is where we lived when I made it. So the wood came off of the property and was split up, and new components were made after from 77 till now. It's been a long time. But the piece is coming back to life. I am resurrecting. It is rising from the dead. It's not the same piece. It's the same core, different wood. But I am so happy about having the piece be now back in what I call the land of the living. But now it's an indoor piece. I won't put it outside anymore. It will always have to go inside, so it is now a full indoor sculpture with a new beginning. In putting the new components on, the new pieces of wood, they're pounded in with a sledgehammer in to fit. One end was turned on a lathe, a long enough section to fit into the pipe.
That's it.
We put on half. Now we needed to turn it over to do the other half. But if you lifted it straight up, with one half being all wood and one half not having wood, it would tumble. It would fall toward the heavy side, obviously. So we turned it over slowly, just a little bit at a time, propping and putting things under it so that it didn't flop. We wanted it to just turn over easy and set up right, so we can now start putting on the top components, which we'll start on right away.